Then Hoops, hard to believe it's back.
Oops.
It feels
Still
like
hasn't hit me.
Yeah, it always has a hard time hitting you the first week or two because college football still and the NFL still well underway. This is our last season preview we'll do until Major League Baseball.
Yes.
We have three of them in about 2 months, and now
that's a good point.
But yeah, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go from 14 up, or you want to go from 1 down to 14?
Let's go 14 up. I think we usually start 1 down to 14.
Yeah,
but
I think we did 14 up for football, and I liked it that way, or the bottom up in each division.
But before we do that, how about Player of the Year predictions?
Zach Edey.
I got Zach Edey as well. We both last year went with Hunter Dickinson. Last year, both wrong.
Yeah. It would be a major upset if Edey's not the Player of the Year. Crazier things can happen. I could see a guy like Jameer Young winning it, or I know Tyson Walker got that one vote, which was from a Michigan State guy.
I think your boy's gonna be pretty good.
Terrence Shannon, I think
he'll be right there in the mix.
Will have a good year. Should be a first teamer, but I don't know if he'll put up the numbers Edey does.
Very dark horse, because I think his team's gonna be all right, but I don't think they're gonna be good enough for him to get in the mix. Would be Boo Buie.
Yeah, that's another guy I wanted to mention. Yeah. Northwestern fans are gonna hate me where I have them. Fans.
I was gonna say, do we have any that listen to this program?
Yeah, Boo Buie is a guy that will put up numbers. Now, if a college or a Big Ten fantasy league was still happening, which I think there still are, Boo Buie will be a very popular pick for that. But I do not have them very good.
Well, who do you got finishing dead last? 14th in the Big Ten. The last time we'll see the Big Ten 14. Next year, there's going to be 18 teams to predict for basketball.
Minnesota. I know it's only year 3, but Ben Johnson's seat's got to be hot. I'm not saying they need to make the tournament in order for him to stay, but they have to show something because they have been not even competitive the past 2 years. They do have Dawson Garcia back, and they got to transfer Elijah Hawkins from Howard, who averaged 13 points a game, 6 assists, but they've been terrible the past 2 years.
I actually have Penn State last. Losing Micah Shrewsbury to Notre Dame, lost a lot of players, some to the NBA, some to transfer. Got new head coach Mike Rhodes coming over from VCU.
Only new coach in the Big Ten.
He's bringing over Ace Baldwin with him, who was the 18th Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, so that he should help. And they got North Carolina transfer Puff Johnson and transfers and DeMarco Dunn. So they're both former top 100 prospects. They'll be coming in. But besides that, couldn't really tell you much about their roster.
Yeah. Ace Baldwin, 12 points a game, near 6 assists last year for VCU. Puff Johnson is Cam Johnson's bro, who's an NBA guy with the Suns. They also got transfer Leo O'Boyle from Lafayette, 11 points a game last year, and Raquandis Mitchell from Kansas City, who averaged 17 points a game last year. I have him 13th, so I don't have him too far off.
I have Minnesota 13th, so
cool.
I don't really have much else to add than what you already said about them.
Yeah. Who you got finishing 12th?
I have the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
I have the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay.
Finishing 12th. I have Nebraska 10th.
I got Michigan 10th. So
okay. Do you want to talk about Michigan or Nebraska?
I'll talk about Nebraska. Hoiberg's team, they played better as the year went on last year. They got one of the more entertaining players in the league. I'm not even trying to pronounce his first name. Tominaga. He's 6'2". He averaged 20.3 points while shooting 55.7% from the floor and 43.1% from three-point range. Final 9 games. Say. This will be his final season. He entered the portal, but didn't go anywhere. They did lose their number 2 and 3 scorers, but they got a deep transfer class like Hoiberg always does. All Missouri Valley big, Rink Mast from Bradley and ex-Iowa guard Aaron Ulis. So we'll see what they can do.
They also bring in transfer from Charlotte Bryce Williams, who averaged 14 points a game. Jerron Coleman from Ball State, who averaged 14 points a game. And I said Rink Mass, who averaged 13 and 8 at Bradley. But also Josiah Alec from New Mexico, 8 points and 7 rebounds a game. So once again, Nebraska has to reload or retool with these transfer guys. And I think there's maybe 2 or 3 Big Ten coaches that are on the hot seat. I started with Ben Johnson, but I think Hoiberg's another one. They were better as the year went along, but they need to show progress again, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I think his contract's decently expensive for Nebraska basketball.
Yeah, and they still pack that place out, though, so it's not like they're losing money off it. But they need to start showing that they're pretty good here soon. As I said, I have Michigan 12th. They lost Jet Howard to the NBA, Hunter Dickinson to Kansas. They do pick up transfers into Amari Burnett from Alabama and Olivier Nkamhoua from Tennessee, who's a big, who's pretty good. They also lost Kobe Buffkin to the NBA as well.
They only got 2 returning starters, Doug McDaniel and Terrence Williams.
And is it Jace Howard, Jawan's other son?
Sounds right.
He's back, but he looks like he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury. Jawan also won't coach to start the year because he had surgery, so it'll be Fran Dunphy, not Fran Dunphy. Phil Martelli.
Yeah.
Almost said Phil Dunphy.
One of the best TV sitcom characters of all time.
So I think this will be a rough year for Michigan. Should be a rough year for Michigan anyway.
I got Michigan 10th. Mm-hmm. So who do you got at 11th?
Northwestern. I haven't finished in that bottom 4. Boo Booey's back. They did lose Chase Audige, who arguably is their most important player. They do have Ty Berry and Matthew Nicholson back as well, and they got a transfer from Princeton, Ryan Langborg, 12 points a game. Their stretch in February into March felt fluky to me, and losing Chase Audige does not help, and I just don't think they'll be very good.
I actually had the Wildcats 8th, so I have them a little higher than you do.
Yeah.
I got the Iowa Hawkeyes 11th.
Okay, I have them 9th.
I mean, they were led by, of course, Garza, then Murray. The past 4 seasons, we've already talked about those guys there in word association. But now they need to find a new offensive engine. And I don't know who that's going to be. It could be, Tony Perkins, Peyton Sandfort, or Patrick McCaffrey, who feels like he's been there a decade. They are getting a big man from Valparaiso, Ben Crick. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And then they're going to have, DeJounte Bowen will add some depth, and Josh Dix. But I don't know. They have a four-man freshman class coming in. I mean, maybe Fran and company can surprise me, but I just don't see it.
I've always liked Tony Perkins. Pretty solid point guard. And I said Peyton Sandfort. They need both of them to have kind of breakout seasons. Ben Crickey, whatever his name is, from Valpo, 19 points a game last year. Their top freshman is Sandfort's brother, Price. So they have another set of brothers. Seems like they have brothers every year. Then I have to throw 2 players out from my dad's alma mater, Moline. Brock Harding, who won Illinois Mr. Basketball. He's point guard. And then big man Owen Freeman of these. I think they're 7A state champs. And
how did Underwood let Illinois Mr. Basketball get out of the backyard?
Both were non-top 150 guys. So typical Iowa McCaffrey type guys who McCaffrey's known to be a proven developer of talent there. I mean, both Murray brothers weren't highly thought of. Neither was Luka Garza. So
that's a good point.
But I have Iowa finishing 9th.
Okay. 9th for me is I got to get my graphic up here, Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
I have them 8th.
So, I mean, Pikel's bunch is going to be tough as nails, but they lost a lot of guys. They lost Caleb McConnell, Paul McCahey, thank goodness. But they get Cliff Omarari back. Mm-hmm. He's going to be one of the better guys in Big Ten, probably win Big Ten Defense Player of the Year. He's probably favored too, I would say, or up there if not. Derek Sampson will probably find his way in the rotation after his sophomore year. A lot of people are saying he'll have a breakout year. They're getting UMass transfer Noah Fernandez. He averaged 14.9 points per game and 5.3 assists in 2021, 2022, and then he got hurt last year for the Minutemen. Then they got Andre Hyatt and Mawet Mag.
Who was good last year. And remember, Rutgers was good, and then Mag got hurt.
That's right.
They just weren't the same team after that, missed the tourney.
That's right, but they sure have been a thorn in Purdue's side. So,
yeah.
you know they're going to be physical.
Oh, yeah. Pikel's done an unbelievable job there. That was a program that was one of the worst Power 5 or high majors in college basketball. And he's turned them into a very respectable bunch that now it's kind of surprising if they don't make the tournament or at least on the bubble. One guy you did not mention was FIU transfer Austin Williams. He was out last year with an injury, but in 2021, 2022, he averaged 16 points a game at Hartford. They definitely won't score a bunch, but they will grind that game out, slow it down, and hope to win in the 50s, which is what Pikel does best.
And if anybody's watching our podcast right now and it's live instead of the Purdue game, but interested in score, Purdue's up 22-4 so far. So,
yeah. What would have been even funnier is if the guy just had the 5'7" guy just shadow Edey the whole game and just guard him.
It's pulling his shorts.
Yeah. Holding on to his leg. Yeah. But I have Rutgers 8th. Where are we at? Are we at 8th?
We're at 7 because I had Northwestern 8.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Who do you got at 7?
I have Ohio State at 7. Big year for Holtman. Last year was very disappointing. But they do get transfer Jamison Battle from Minnesota. He had kind of a down year, but he was really good the year before. Then they have 3 top 55 freshmen led by Devin Royal. So they're kind of a wild card, but Chris Holtman can coach, and I think last year ticked them off enough that they'll have a decent year.
I actually have the Indiana Hoosiers at 7. They're a very tough team to figure out.
Yeah,
I actually think 7's probably about the basement.
Yeah,
they just lost so much offensive production last year. I got to see who's got to step in first before I can put them too much higher. I mean, they lost Trace Jackson Davis, who was a senior, but to the NBA, Race Thompson, who was a good player for them for 4 years, and then Jalen Hood-Schifino, who was a one and done, who so far with his NBA career, maybe he shouldn't have jumped. But they do get Xavier Johnson back for his 7th season. And then they got a 5-star freshman forward, Mackenzie
Mbako.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. But then you got Malik Renew coming back for sophomore year, Oregon transfer center, Kel-El Ware, who's a freak athlete. Just got to see what Woodson can get out of him. Then you got Peyton Sparks arriving from Ball State, and Miami, Florida transfer Anthony Walker, who has 125 appearances for a reserve guard in a pretty good program.
Yep.
And then you got Trey Galloway as well, who is a returning vet that'll be in the starting lineup. So still some experience there for the Hoosiers, but it's going to be interesting to see how Woodson gets all these guys to mix.
Yeah, I have Indiana 6, so I have him right there. That Kel-El Ware was a top 10 recruit that went to Oregon, and he averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds a game last year. Sounds like he has issues with his motor from everything I've kind of read and watched, so maybe Woodson will get it out of him. But yeah, as you said, Peyton Sparks, 6'9", 240, 13-9 last year. They have a ton of talent there, which
Sure.
they should. And as our good friend Cam said, he thinks they'll struggle early, especially with offensive cohesion. But towards the end of the year, they'll be a better team, obviously, which is what you hope.
That's what you want.
That's what you want.
And it's interesting. We've already listed, talking about 7 Big Ten teams, 2 Ball State transfers.
Yeah.
So it just shows you what the NIL and transfer portals doing to a lot of these mid-major programs. Just taking their good players. Yeah. So at number 6, I got the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 6.
I have them 5th.
I got Ohio State 5th for the record. You already talked about them. But Wisconsin made the NIT last year, but they did get 3 victories in the NIT, so that got them to the 20-win mark for Greg Gard and company. They lost 11 of the final 17 conference games, and were 1 and done in the Big Ten tournament last year after starting 3-0 in the Big Ten. So they were definitely a team who got worse as the year went on. But they'll be led by Tyler Wall, who feels like he's been there.
Did have an injury last year, and that kind of hurt them down the stretch.
Yeah, yep. He's a 5th-year senior, but it seems like he's been there a decade.
Yeah.
But that's the only guy I got really mentioned. I don't really know anybody else.
Chucky Hepburn is back as well, which there were so many rumors he was going to transfer, but he is back. Stephen Crowell as well. They do get transfer AJ Storr from St. John's, who as a freshman last year averaged 9 points a game and 40% from 3. He was a one-time Illinois commit, and then Chin Coleman left to go to Kentucky, and he decommitted. So I wish Illinois had his size and ability to shoot the 3-ball right now. But this Wisconsin team should be a tourney team. If there's not, I think Gard will have some heat on him as well.
Yep, which we haven't seen that in a Wisconsin coaching long time.
Yeah.
So I have Ohio State 5th. You've already covered them. So our top 4 is the same top 4. We just don't know what order.
I have Maryland finishing 4th.
I do as well.
Jameer Young, first team preseason All Big Ten. fantastic point guard. And as I said, he could be a challenger maybe for that Big Ten Player of the Year. Julian Reese, breakout potential. And then they get Jordan Geronimo, who transferred from Indiana. Then they have 3 top 100 freshmen led by Deshaun Harris-Smith. Their head coach from Seton Hall, who was there last year. What's his name?
Kevin Willard.
Kevin Willard. Great recruiter. I think he's a very good basketball coach and a really good fit there in Maryland too.
Yeah, this team was the 8th seed in the NCAA tournament last year. Another player you forgot to mention, Dante Scott, is a good veteran,
he's back.
Good veteran for them too. So I like where we have him at 4. But if I had to name somebody who I think could be the most overrated program by the end of the year, Maryland.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. I have Illinois finishing 3rd.
I do as well.
I'll cover them a little more than you will, so you don't really.
Yes, please run with it.
Terrence Shannon's back, Coleman Hawkins back. Probably the 2 biggest, the biggest duo to announce they're coming back maybe in the league. Then they add transfer Marcus Domask from Southern Illinois, 16 points a game last year. Great shooter, great passer, really good fit. Justin Harmon transferred from Utah Valley State. He was on the Utah Valley State team that I believe they beat Wisconsin in the NIT in Madison Square Garden. And then they get Quincy Grier from Oregon, transfer. Very old team. So they played an exhibition game against Kansas. Take exhibition games with a grain of salt. First half, they were both teams were mixing and matching with different lineups and rotations and all of that. Second half, it was pretty much both teams' rotation. They were trying to win the game. And the final 4 minutes, Illinois went 5th year, 5th year, 5th year, 5th year, and 4th year. So ton of experience, which is something they didn't have last year. They had the 2 freshman point guards, then Matthew Meyer, who didn't fit at all. So this team seems to have much better cohesion on offense, pass the ball better, should be able to shoot the ball better. Again, last year left such a bad taste in my mouth that I'm kind of wait and see mode. They're already tested next week against top 10 team Marquette. It is at home. But they also get 2 top 100 freshmen in Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, former Purdue commit, and then Amani Hansberry as well. But then you have a full season of a healthy Luke Goody, which will help as well. So I feel good about this team. It's more cautious optimism than anything. I do think the league is down though, outside of the top 1 really, and that's Purdue, in my opinion. But should be a fairly fun season for Illinois.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add about Illinois. I think they're going to be pretty good. That's why I got them 3rd. Number 2, I'm guessing we both have Michigan State.
Yep.
They returned 4 of 5 starters.
Yeah.
Tyson Walker, AJ Hogard, 2 studs. Izzo's got a great recruiting class that came in. Big Ten's top. Features 3 top 50 players, headlined by 5-star Indiana product Xavier Booker. But I don't know how much the 6'11" center's going to play.
It seems kind of raw.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Very much so.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jaren Jackson, who he played, but his numbers weren't that great, but he went in the top, 5, top 10 in the draft. Now he's a really good NBA guy. It's kind of who he reminds me of. They also get freshman point guard Jeremy Fears, who goes to high school or went to high school about 7 minutes from where I live in Joliet. He's supposedly a really good point guard, but I, again, don't know how much he'll play because you have Tyson Walker and AJ Hogard, and I believe they get Akins back as well.
They got 4 of the 5. I can't think of the guy who started not there. So.
Jordan, so should be good. They were kind of mediocre last year, so maybe getting everyone back. It's
mediocre, yet they were close to making the Elite 8.
Yeah, it's very annoying and frustrating.
Mm-hmm. And both of us have Purdue repeating as Big Ten champions.
I did not write down a single note on Purdue, so I'm letting you know that.
well, I mean, it starts with Zach Edey, National Player of the Year last year. I think he could be a better player this year while seeing his stats take a decline, and that's just because I think Purdue's got better players this year, and really they didn't lose much from last year, but they just added more experience, got everybody's older, added transfer from Southern Illinois Lance Jones, who's in their starting lineup tonight, who's a kind of built like a brick house. They haven't had a guard built like a brick house in a long time. Actually, he's playing the 3 tonight, but whatever. And then they had some athleticism with Cameron Hyde, who was a redshirt freshman. He's a redshirt freshman, redshirt last year. And then true freshman Miles Colvin, who is not going to redshirt. Don't know how much run those guys will get, but I think Painter starts the year with a 10-man rotation. Then we'll probably end it with a 9-man.
Yeah.
That's usually what he does.
I'm looking at the box score right now. They're up 27-6. And Zach Edey does not have a shot attempt.
That's all right.
He has 1 point. Looks like Colvin just checked into the game, so he's going 10 deep to start, as he said.
So of course, bad taste in everybody around Purdue's program,
Sure.
fans, managers, coaches, players, everybody with the Fairleigh Dickinson loss. Probably the biggest upset in NCAA history. If not, it's just right there with the Virginia and the Baltimore, Maryland BMCU or whatever the heck they're called. UMBC. Thank you. Loss. But I think it comes down to Purdue this year. Well, of course, making wide open 3-pointers if you're going to get them, but not turning the ball over. The last few years in the NCAA tournament, the early exits, the double-digit upsets, it's not just how bad they shot, it's turning the ball over. If they cut their turnovers by a couple, they still eke out those wins. So just got to take care of the basketball. I'm going to try to enjoy this season. I'm sure it's going to have its ups and downs and full of anxiety, but like good buddy of the show, Evan Webb, said, you only get this team once. Yeah. This exact team one time. So enjoy the ride. Whatever happens. Kind of out of our control. So
it is. Yeah.
But
still doesn't make it hurt less.
No. I don't know if I can be any hurt worse than I was last year. Yeah. So
that's fair. That's fair. But what Big Ten teams do you think make the tournament? Looks like I have 7 making the tourney.
I'll go 7 as well, with Northwestern just on the outside looking at.
Yeah, I have the top 7: Ohio State, Indiana, Wisconsin, Maryland, Illinois, Michigan State, Purdue.
So I got Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, Maryland, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Indiana.
We have the same.
Yeah.